In life, we have moments of time to make a difference for someone. Sometimes people think that moment is in their control. In other words, they think, I'll just do this for someone. And in doing so, they think they've done something super great for that individual. But the reality is, if they're a stranger to that individual, if they're not in the day-to-day aspects of that individual's life, they can't prove they've really done that other than in their own mind. There are a lot of people who think they have the right to do things in other people's lives, but they really don't. Do you go into someone's home and open their cupboards and look around? Probably not. That would be considered rude. There was an old joke about how people might go into a bathroom and open up cupboards and look over medicine cabinets, and we learned as a child that that was offensive and not right, unless someone invited us to look for some aspirin if we were a guest in their home and had a headache or needed to find the toilet paper. Then usually that's something, please forgive the age, but usually that's something that people will be okay with if you run out of toilet paper to look for some, so that you're not left stranded and they're not left stranded. But in life, what we're really talking about is where our boundaries begin and end. You see, in my life, I have people who think that they have rights to my life. I rented an apartment after I lost the most important person of my life, and someone actually paid that bill for me out of a loving kindness. The problem was that that person kept infiltrating my rights with that maintenance and management staff. They destroyed their regard for my life. And openly they did so by going into my home when I wasn't present, using the key that was set up only for emergency purposes only, in case, for God forbid, I were to pass away in my, approaching 50 years of life, as sometimes people do. And my mother was always worried about a heart attack for the men in her family, because on my father's line, there is a lot of that going on. My father outlived all his predecessors who died in their 50s. So she sort of had that fear about her sons, I think, in her life. But in truth, they went into my home and they took away intimate medical objects. I'm only going to say it as that because my medical health is no one's business but my own, but I'm wanting you to hear the illness factor. That some person thought they had the right to walk in through a locked door of a rented home that is supposed to be protected by federal law, that they're not allowed to do that without permission or without a reason. But what's worse is they opened a bottom drawer of a child's chest and took things out. Several hundreds of dollars of medical items that I was informed that I needed to utilize to fix something that was going on for me. Now, someone else might look at those and find they were a joke and think it was funny, or someone else might look at that and go, oh my God, and try and do something, but was it their actual right to touch anything like that, or to even open a drawer? And the answer is no. Not under God's rules, and most certainly not underneath federal law. You see, it was federally illegal for them to open the door, period. It was illegal of them to open any drawer in my home. And openly, what happened after that was financial documents of my bank statements for 10 years went missing. Much of my Japanese language programming was literally depleted from notebooks in my home. I gave no person license to open my notebooks and see what they were, or to utilize my shredder to shred things. But if I commented on that to anyone in the apartment complex, they would always just, that's not possible, we don't do those sort of things. But it was always said in a way that made me think they did those sort of things. You see, the liars always slip with the tell. One particular girl kept saying how she was watching my videos online. Why? At what point did I ever give her a business card for myself? Now, yes, you could Google my name and find things, but what would give her any desire to do that when her job is simply to take my rent and make sure that my home is left alone? I had many things go missing from my home. I had medical documents go missing. I had an entire lockbox of private things go missing, and someone thought they'd put in old family photos. Now, I had a few family photos in that lockbox that I wanted to keep for my own life and future, of showing them to children of someone I love, of what I looked like as a baby or as a child. But there was a lot more put in there that I did not keep. And they only could have come from a family member who literally had access to the keys one time. You see, when I got my keys back, the 2 keys that were on that ring became 1 key. So that proved to me that that sibling stole that key or gifted that key to someone else in my family. What else started happening was my photo albums of my own Japanese lawfully wedded family and spouse and son went completely depleted from photo albums. And photographs of my sister's family went into those albums. I know for a fact that my spouse didn't keep any of those things, because in truth, she would have never put those photos in our albums of our family. Other things in my life went missing and came back. Childhood toys went missing and then came back. And openly, a beautiful box of angel wings that I purchased for my soulmate, who's a very caring individual, that I had planned to give her at Christmas time, before all hell broke loose in that relationship, went missing from a drawer. I had 3 coins that my spouse gifted me from Japan of ancient times, and I only have 2 now because one went missing. I had a Japanese yen of each type of coin to show to my students, and an ichi yen, or a 1-cent yen, is still missing from my collection. In my storage unit now, I am finding that lots of things are going missing. I had several wood boxes that would keep photographs of my family and other private items with an image inside that top picture that I carefully selected, that I purchased over time by looking for them one by one because you couldn't find them all in multiples at the same time. I went to multiple stores to find those, and those boxes have literally gone missing. Clothes that I had in the back of my storage unit are now in the front of my storage unit, and interestingly enough, a sweatshirt that I had thrown out, totally thrown out of my life, leaving it on a curb somewhere, intentionally, came back into that unit as if someone is stalking me and following me. A cuff that I had purchased from a metaphysical type of Renaissance fair from a wonderful leather went missing, in the terms that I had new snaps put on it when I was traveling in Illinois. I found a leather shop. She did the work in no time so that I could wear my cuff and continue to wear it as I'd worn it for 3 years. Interesting enough, when I woke up from sleeping, that cuff had been ripped or cut. You see, the monsters in my life end up being my siblings, who lie, steal, and cheat away my life. When I tried to call police on the matter, I was told by whoever was playing with the phone line that it was a civil matter. I'm sorry, it's not a civil matter. My property is mine. Their house and their property is theirs, but here's the rub. My siblings don't really own their houses fully. They've not produced a life that allows them to say that they do. And openly, if they lose their jobs, how are they going to keep their houses? I have one whose little husband almost lost their entire house. But I'm sharing stories I shouldn't be telling. That is, in truth, confidential information, isn't it? Or is it? You see, I only found about that third hand. But the truth is that when siblings lie to themselves about their rights in a man's life, it produces an illness in them, that they continue to think that they have rights to do things. I haven't talked to them for months, weeks, possibly even longer in some of their cases. And they don't own the rights to my life. They don't have a right to continue to impress upon me that they care about me because they left me freezing cold on Christmas Eve. The date of the Lord's birth, the night before the Lord's birth, I was supposed to go to a church service with my eldest sister. The Lord was smart enough to give me the prophetic gift of saying, take your long coat with you tonight. Take it out of the back of your sister's vehicle, since mine was illegally and unlawfully impounded. And a lawyer literally said it wasn't her responsibility to fix that, which wasn't true. But openly, that is the truth of my life, that many people have played the liar's game on my life. The liar's game says, I have rights over you that you don't have over you. Now, I want you to really think about what that's like, that you have a home with items in it that are just yours. Things you've picked up in your travels, gifts you've received from people you've lived with or you worked with, or who gifted you because you left the community, like me. Most of my Asian artifacts that were personally given to me by loving people in Japan have been pilfered. One of my favorite Netsuke items appears missing. A lot of my altar has been literally destroyed, and I kept finding cards that I had left in my storage back on me in the middle of the night. I have woken up at my sister's home with my legs shaved, and it's offensive when I woke up sadly, in an incarcerated situation, which I didn't ask for, nor did I require that experience, with my body shaved. You see, those are the monsters in the force who thought they had the lawful right to lock me in a medical room, make sure that I slept, and then remove my clothes. And how do I know this? Because I knew precisely how much I had on in underwear when I went to sleep. And I also was told by God to put something in my underpants so that I would recognize something in the morning, that piece that fell out was on the floor. And I'm not somebody who touches himself in the middle of the night. I know this because I used to videotape my sleeping in that new apartment complex where I was having all the theft going on. Now, strangely enough, those angel wings, that piece, has come back into my storage unit. I didn't pack it up. I most certainly didn't have it with me when I left that place. Also, interestingly enough, some of my negatives from Japan have returned, but how would I know if all of them are there? You see, I had that all in one particular box, one particular gray box for that matter, a very solid, strong Sterilite container. I'd put everything in there, all my slides, all my photographs, all my CDs, everything that was important. And that's the box that went missing completely from my home. A lot of those photographs I mentioned in another audio file went missing. Things I paid for overseas through the nose to get printed, gone. There is no person in my family, or my birth family that is, who had any lawful right to enter my home at any time, regardless of who was paying the rent on that. Even my own mother was not a resident in that home, and while she might have had a lawful right to have a key, she always told me she did not. If a sibling lied and got a key, then that apartment complex is legally liable for that lie. They told themselves that they had the right to give away a man's house key. If it was the maintenance staff or the apartment staff that got in and took things, like my